you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And I'm Davey Deathray.
And we are here to review a brand new release that is hitting the theaters this weekend, I believe. We got to see a slightly early screening of M3GAN 2.0, or M3GAN 2.0, as some people like to call it. Just like Fan 4-Stick
Yes.
the other year. So yeah, we are here with M3GAN 2.0, and I think the best way to start this is let's give our thoughts on the first one first, just briefly. So I saw this film when it came out. Obviously, we did a screener for that one as well. And, I always have high hopes for horror movies. And this was just clearly not a horror movie aimed at my age range. So I didn't really love it as a horror movie, but I did end up having a lot of fun with it. Like, I was surprised at how much fun I had with the film. So when and we'll get to the second one, but that's basically where I landed on the first one. I was like, okay, like I had a good time with it. It wasn't really super horror, but I had a good time, and I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed the story and the characters. I do remember that about it.
Yeah.
Because I thought the actual relationship between M3GAN and Katie, when like they had that really earnest interaction when they were in observation,
Yeah.
I really liked that. And
Yeah.
so like I bought into the relationships, I bought into the characters, and it was just a silly fun ride overall. So that's where I landed on the first one. How about you?
Yeah, I actually just watched the first movie earlier today. Very first time.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I thought for, a PG-13 film that's looking like it's a thriller with some like horror kind of elements,
Mhm.
I thought it was pretty good. I felt like they pushed everything like language-wise and gore-wise as far as you can with a PG-13.
Mhm.
And yeah, I do think it's probably aimed at a younger audience, but I thought it was, kind of like what you were saying, like good characters. Like a good enough story, it all made sense.
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, I like these characters and I wouldn't mind seeing more, especially in a different setting without like rehashing the first movie.
Where did you fall on the dance scene of the first film?
Oh, I mean, it's just goofy. I don't even know what to think about it because it's like I saw it so much before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
So when I saw it in the movie, it almost seemed like this.
Underwhelming, kind of, or
Yeah, I was just sort of like, oh, I've
You're
seen this like
that's
completely
it?
out
Like,
of context.
That's what made the whole thing.
Like, I didn't expect it was supposed to scare me. I actually thought it was supposed to, like, I thought it was meant for comedic effect. But I guess that's just because it's been memed to shit.
yeah, at this point. So okay, so that's where we were heading into this one. When I did the trailer reaction to the couple trailers we got. I'm not sure if I did them both with Robert or if I did one with Fuego as well, but we came to the conclusion that it just was like, oh, so part 2 just looks like a mixture of Alita Battle Angel and Terminator 2. Like
Yeah.
that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like there's any horror anymore. It looks like it's just leaning into the crazy, stupid, over-the-top concept.
Yeah.
And we were like, ultimately, I'm here for it. I want to give it a try. And I'll be honest, to do my overall thoughts as we normally do here, I had a hell of a fun time with this movie. Like, I was actually a little bit surprised at how much I enjoyed it, because I knew I was going to be in for a dumb ride. I knew it was going to be over-the-top silliness and over-the-top action. But again, I was surprised at how much I liked the progression of the character story from the first film, and like the progression of the relationship with the characters from the first film. And there's actually a really interesting one-on-one conversation between two characters that, showed the depth of feels of one character to another character and stuff. And I was like, surprised at how into it I really was as far as the relationships go. So my overall thoughts were, this movie was a blast. It was just exactly what we thought it was going to be. There's no horror. It was basically Alita Terminator 2, and to an even more of an extent than the trailer even showed. But it was a lot of fun. I didn't check my brain at the store because it's a little. It's a little bit of an underhanded sort of comment, but I knew it wasn't going to be the most intellectually deep movie.
Sure.
And it wasn't, but it was a ton of fun. So my long-winded overall thoughts, that's what they are. How about you?
Yeah, I had a really good time with this one. I've got a couple nitpicks, but I think, yeah, overall it was a pretty fun experience. And I agree with, what Cecil's saying about like how I would say that is I just think this movie kind of knows what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it's like a Roland Emmerich movie completely, but it sort of has a little bit of those vibes, like kind of where it's just like you've got a big cast going through this crazy event. And yeah, I would say like, yeah, this movie, really good time. It knows what it is, and it's pretty damn fun.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a soupçon of the most recent 2 Mission Impossibles in there as well, as far as a MacGuffin
Sure.
that ends up
Yeah,
being,
kind of a little bit of a Bond type feel to part of the story.
Right. Well, and specifically when people see, I'm not going to elaborate further because it would be spoilery,
Sure.
but yeah, when people see it, if they've seen the most recent 2 Mission Impossibles, they'll understand what I'm talking about. But let's dive into the story a bit, okay? So story-wise, it's a continuation of the previous, and if you've seen the trailers, you get the gist of it. But basically, a new artificially intelligent, female robot is out there causing all kinds of chaos in multiple nation economies and stuff, because she's just out there like offing a lot of people that are important to a particular thing. Again, we're going to keep this non-spoiler, but she's out there causing chaos, and it comes back to Gemma, right? Gemma,
Yeah.
isn't it? And her, her little team that we met in the first one. At least the dude was in the first one. Was the
both of them. Yeah,
Okay.
Tessa as well. Yeah.
Okay, Tessa as well, and then Katie, her niece, aka now essentially daughter figure.
Yeah.
And so she is brought in because it comes down the pipeline that this was it Amelia? What was her name?
Amelia.
Yeah, Amelia is based on the M3GAN design, and the whole thing with M3GAN is now a worldwide news story. Gemma has gone on to advocate for artificial intelligence sort of education, and as opposed to like. Anyway, it's
spending time with your child kind of stuff.
Right.
There's a little tinge of that.
Yeah, exactly. So she's trying to be a better parent, so they are brought into this thing where they have no choice but to resurrect M3GAN in order to try and track down and take care of the Amelia problem.
Yeah.
And so M3GAN becomes the Arnold Schwarzenegger, where she's now sort of tentatively on the side of good, at least in M3GAN's case, compared to the Terminator case. But they all have to work together to try and stop the Amelia problem, which ends up being a much more of a global problem than even the trailers let you believe. So that's the long and short of the story. And I gotta be honest again. So this movie was literally an hour and 59 minutes or something like that. It's a full 2-hour movie. The first one it's
like 140.
140, right?
Yeah.
So I did sort of feel the length a little bit, but for the vast majority of the movie, it moves really well. Like the story progresses very quickly. You're not like hovering in one place for too long. The story does progress and progress and progress and progress. They cram a lot into the movie, to be quite honest. Even more so than what I thought they would be able to do based on what I saw in the trailer. They did even a few more things, but it was a lot of fun to see how it played out, because of the scripting. There was a lot of really funny jokes. A lot of what I thought were funny jokes, I'm sure some people might find some of them groaners, but there was a lot of there was a couple of groaners. Any of the vagina jokes were a bit of groaners, but one was kind of funny where he was like, close enough, something like that where it involved a vagina joke. But other than that, I laughed a lot in this movie. I was really surprised at how much I laughed. So I lumped that in here with story because it's all sort of part of the script. So I was very satisfied with how the story played out. Knowing what it was going into it, I was pleasantly surprised at times. And I have to say, by the end, I was wholly satisfied with a big smile on my face and quite frankly, ready for more. Yeah. So that's where I land on the story. How about you?
Yeah, I would say especially like the first half of the movie, really great pacing. Like I was totally invested. I think there's somewhere like between the end of the second, beginning of the third act where maybe they could have trimmed out some time. Again, I'm the runtime snob or whatever the heck whatever fake name I want to make up for that. But I felt it too. And I really enjoyed that first half so much that I think that, yeah, things just sort of slowed down a bit for me.
Okay.
But like the climax and everything, really love that. Really enjoyed the character development and the bonds that are being tied like within the whole group. So there's some really great dynamics there, like with all that. And like you said, like I left wanting to see more. You know?
Yeah, I was so good. I'm glad we're on the same page there because it's I was really keyed in. I was worried that you weren't enjoying it as much as me, and maybe you didn't enjoy it as much as me. But I'm glad you at least enjoyed a lot of it.
It's because when I watch a movie, I'm like.
You watch like it's like a statue,
resting bitch face, and Cecil's like,
I'm constantly looking over like,
yeah.
like,
that's just how I look. That's why I don't have anyone special in my life.
I get it. You know, I understand. So yeah, no, okay, great. So let's talk about the acting. A lot of people might think that everyone knows what kind of movie they're in. You know, and I actually appreciated the acting more in this one than I did the previous film. A couple of people, I wasn't the biggest fan of their choices. There's one person that you and I both weren't the biggest fan of the choice that they made, the choices that they made in their portrayal of their character. It made certain things a little underwhelming. But again, I don't know that I can fault the actor for that as much as he was doing what was in the script. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
Well, but I think that he could have made some like more dynamic choices after certain things are revealed.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like, I felt like at that point, maybe that's part of what is sort of giving me the drag on the time or making me wish it was sped up or something.
That's fair.
Because there's something about his acting choices that I was like, oh man, I wanted there to be like a nice little change here too. Yeah,
that's fair. Again, we're keeping it vague because we don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But so acting wise, we were happy with what we got. I think Katie is, I found her engaging in the first one. I found her engaging in this one too. Yeah. She's definitely trying. You can tell she's trying, but she does come off natural for most of the film, I believe.
Yeah.
I like that Gemma's assistants got more to do in this one.
Yeah.
They got a little bit fleshed out a little bit more and stuff like that.
And the dude was way funnier.
Yeah.
I enjoyed a lot of that comedy. Again, it does almost have that feel that's like echoes of some of those bigger blockbuster kind of action movies you're used to seeing. But I really didn't mind it in this movie because this movie was kind of a little bit of that. So I was like, oh, this feels appropriate here.
And one funny thing I will say, someone I didn't know was going to be in the movie because they weren't in the advertisement, but Jermaine Clement was hilarious.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Was really funny.
Oh, yes.
I don't like, he doesn't get as much press and as much play as his partner, from Flight of the Conchords. Like because he did the Marvel movies and he was in Free Guy and a very, he's been in, not only did the Marvel movies, been in the Marvel movies and stuff. Yeah. So, it was nice to see Jermaine get some time to have some fun.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
Yeah, he really was.
And again, totally don't expect him. And
like the Spanish Inquisition.
Exactly. Yeah, good shit.
Cool. So let's talk about the filmmaking. I do think that this is worth talking about. The sound design was on point, especially considering they have to add a lot of robot noises without making it feel oppressive audio-wise and distracting. I feel like they struck a good balance there. I really appreciated that. I can't remember a whole lot of the score or the needle drops, but none of them took me out of the film, so everything was appropriate enough. What I want to speak more about is the cinematography, so why don't you hit on the audio real quick before I move on to the cinematography?
Yeah, I dug the sound design here. I think, especially during the fight scenes and all that kind of stuff, when you really want to feel, the weight and the power of the characters that are, involved in the fights and to really sell the stunts, I'm always going to say that, if I can feel it, then I'm gonna give it to the sound design for like really like bringing that home for sure. So
I agree.
But yeah, score wise, I didn't really notice too much. And in the first movie, I noticed that the score was like nice and orchestral. There were certain beats that reminded me of like, you know, I mean, maybe not as great or as memorable, but little hints of like Hitchcock or like early Friday the 13th kind of like old school feel. But here I didn't really notice that. I noticed more like the needle drops, which again, for the kind of tone that the movie had, I think the needle drops were pretty appropriate. Yeah. Sometimes they distract me. I don't know why, but other times I'm like, oh, I get it. Like there's a certain, well, whatever. I'm not going to say anything.
Fair enough.
But there's one moment, especially right before an action scene, where you get a great needle drop.
Yeah. Okay.
And the whole crowd responded.
Yeah, awesome. I agreed. Yeah. So okay. So I want to talk about the cinematography because I feel like they did a great job of having it add to the storytelling this time, but also I don't know if they had a really good B unit action director or if it was the same, like if the main director really like was just keyed in this time, because I really liked how the action scenes were shot in this one. It was very kinetic, very full of life, not stilted at all. Like we see one shot in the trailer where it's like a full circle as someone jumps over someone else. Yeah. And that is in the film, but they do some other things that are similarly impressive and engaging. And I don't know that I could say it's wholly unique, but it's unique enough that I can't recall what other movies have done these exact kind of moves. Yeah. And I like that they make the machines move in very particular ways. Yeah. That are different than human. And like at one point, M3GAN sort of leaps onto someone, and it's very Spider Monkey, and it catches you off guard, and it's really cool, you know. At one point, something scurries down the wall, and you're like, "Oh, that's so odd," you know. Like, so I really appreciated how they portrayed the movement and stuff, which I guess you know that's part cinematography mixed with effects. But cinematography wise, what did you think?
Yeah, I really dug it as well. I think there's some of those shots too where there's a bit of like a contortionism kind of because of the ability, and the camera moves in a way that's almost like, you know, syncopated in a nice way where the visual effects and the camera movement all work together to kind of show off how cool this thing looks, instead of just giving you like, you know, one flat angle or whatever. Like, yeah, the effects were really fun here. And I mean, it's one of those things where the action. So I just saw Ballerina like a week ago.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. There's so much action. I was just like numb and I didn't care, and I was bored by the end. So one thing
one of those plateau things.
Yeah, I'm just, it's like listening to like noise rock forever, and then it's like it starts to sound smooth at some point. So like with this movie, it's dynamic in the action scenes and the more dramatic scenes and comedic beats that they mix in there to like ease the tension. Yeah. And I think like, all of that with the, you know, just the overall way they shot the action and, you know, kept the dynamics in mind of not just always having it be like full bore. You know?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's segue into the effects, because there were a lot of them in this film. And I think I did not have an issue with the effects. The only time I really noticed, because I'm pretty forgiving, everyone that watches the channel for any regularity knows that I'm a little forgiving when it comes to CG effects. My eyes don't care that much, I guess. The only time I saw an issue was like one or two shots during the squirrel suit scene, where you could really tell it was green screen element. But for the most part, and even for most of that sequence, I did not have an issue. What I do want to make note of is something that I made note of very early. When M3GAN, because this isn't a spoiler, it's called M3GAN, so guys, M3GAN is still around. But when she reveals herself, it's really fucking cool in my opinion, because it's on a screen. But it's like she's in that world where she like puts her hand on the screen as she walks, and it like drags on the inside of the screen. Yeah. And that whole, when she's like on the screens in the house, in the smart home, there's like this wavy effect where it's like you're looking at a computer screen. You know, I really loved
like
how those effects. Yeah, almost right. Like it's
like a flat hologram.
Right. Well, it's close to those those hologram booths that they have now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's still a little uncanny valley. And
Mm.
and what I thought was maybe a little bit of a detriment in the first one, the uncanny valleyness of Megan. Now I get it. Like, now they really lean into the uncanny valleyness of Megan again and her facial look, but
Mm.
I get it now, and I think it's a really smart decision, whereas I didn't agree with it as much in the first film. Now I like get it both ways. Like, she's supposed to be super uncanny looking. She's not supposed to look like a real person, you
Yeah.
know, because she is a doll. But I dug the evolution of her look in this one, you know, because familiar suit as we see in the trailer, and then we get neon Barbie version, and then we get damaged version, you know.
Sure.
All great
Yeah.
fucking action figure opportunities. You know what I mean?
Well, and I even think like the way that they, you know, there's a progression from the cutesy version you see in the trailer and to where she finally gets in like her new body that you see in the trailer. So that progression I thought was actually like used really well to kind of like say something about her character and how like what she's learned and how Megan has changed, which I thought was like a really cool thing that they worked in there.
I gotta say, just real quick, because you just reminded me, this movie, and I won't say what, where, or how, but this movie has one of the funniest what the fucks I've ever seen in a film. When it happened, it caught the whole theater.
Yes.
Went out for it, because it's just, you don't expect it at all. It's just, oh, it was so funny. Yeah, I just had a ball with this movie, dude. Like, I do want to have a small section at the end where we talk a tiny bit of spoilers. So that's all I've got on the non-spoilers. So digital wise, effects wise, yeah, I didn't have a problem with the effects other than that. I don't want to.
No, yeah, I think with VFX, yeah, and yeah, just I think that there's nothing wrong with CG. I mean, it's like practical effects are great, but there's just certain things that like if you really want to pull them off. And I did notice some practical effects. There was like one in particular that I was like, oh, I think they cut out the section of like this piece of furniture so the person could actually do this thing instead of doing it digitally, which you obviously could have done as well. There was just something about it that looked real to me. So whether or not it was, but yeah, I think it's just all about a good mix of both and like what kind of story are you trying to tell? Yeah. And so it's like if you're trying to tell this kind of story, you're gonna have to lean on those elements. It's just one of the things you're gonna have to do. And I mean, so the director from this one directed the first movie, but then he also got to write this one. So maybe this guy's like, you know, grew up loving these kinds of movies, and he does a really good job.
It's clear he did, but he's really great at homaging them.
It's well executed. It is, like you said, great homage.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that'll do it for the non-spoiler portion of this. The spoiler section will be very brief. But I have to discuss it, and it's not really enough to do a whole separate video on it. But so yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. If you don't want to get spoiled for anything, greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one. But for everyone else, spoilers. Don't watch beyond this point if you don't want to be spoiled for these few things. So the thing that I want to spoil the most is the face turn, Megan's face turn, because they allude to it in the trailer, where she like grabs the hand of the dude assistant and she's like, you remember when I tried to kill you and then burn the thing down? I'm not going to do that again. I promise. And like that happens, but she actually does, like, because of two really great interactions with Katie and then another one with Gemma later, she actually does like face turn and she becomes good. I mean, not like wholly good, like there's still some mischievous Megan part of her, but the thing that really struck me was her conversation with Gemma, because Gemma's sort of at a really low point in the third act, and she's sitting there with Megan, like sort of getting ready to go into the one of the final sort of sequences, final battles, and you know, Gemma admits that, you know, she's not confident, she's worried about what she has going, and so this whole 2 years between movies, Megan's been around, but they haven't known. Like, Megan's been in the smart home and watching everything.
Built the smart home and the bunker down below. Like, took care of all this crazy shit.
Did all this amazing things for the family, even though off screen and everything, and they didn't realize it. So like when Gemma has this sort of mini little breakdown, Megan like literally stops her and is like, let me tell you what I saw, you know, because like she's like, I couldn't do it, and Megan's like, let me tell you what I saw. I saw you, you know, waking up at 4 a.m. so you could get things ready and have everything ready for her. I saw you, you know, staying up late so you could look up how to raise adolescents, you know, and stuff like that. I saw you do this and this and this. And all of these, like, and this part really struck me as a parent, because like she did all of these things that people consider good parents don't even think about doing, you know, like, and so it was really nice that like she was like, and so there was no longer a beef because she saw, oh, Gemma actually does care about Katie as much as I've been programmed to care about Katie. And that scene, I was like, some people might not buy into that scene. Some people might think it's too much. I was one that bought into it, and I really appreciated the execution of it, quite frankly.
Yeah, it was a good one, and it ends with a really nice joke with the
oh
song.
My god!
But, like I kind of took
so funny.
Like, one of the things that I sort of noticed from that scene, or maybe I just read into it, but I was also like, well, Megan is Gemma's daughter too.
Yeah,
and there's this really sweet moment, you know where what? She. Like it's never really said, and I almost wish that there was like a little.
They could explore
there.
that sister angle in the next one.
Yeah, because it's like she created Megan, so it's like Megan's like, I saw you take care of your new daughter, and this is like your, you know, technological daughter, like telling, like, you know, giving you that reassurance. And I also think it's like a pro motherhood kind of vibe going on too, and I like that.
But yeah, to your point, that is really funny, because like after they have this moment, Megan bursts into song, like she just starts singing, and Gemma, like, she's like, I don't think, and she just puts her fingers up, and then she like Gemma tries to turn her head, and she like pulls her head back, and she like stands up and she grabs her and sits her back down, and she has to sing the whole song.
Multiple jokes.
Oh, it's so fucking funny. I laughed at every single one in the sequence too. Like, again, some people might think it's really dumb, and you know, it is after a fashion, like they are dumb jokes, but it's really funny. Like it's like a rung above Scary Movie jokes. You know what I mean? Like it's not the highest intellect humor, but it's executed so well that it plays really well to me.
I would say it feels, honestly, I think the humor felt more like something like Independence Day.
Yeah,
or like some of those movies.
Yeah.
Like or like Jurassic Park or something, where like the, you know, you're getting something that's a little bubblegummy, but if you've seen the trailer, and that looks like something that you might like, you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Like I you know, I don't think there's any way around that. I guess can we spoil and talk a little bit more about how we didn't like the villain's decisions? No. I thought the villain was friggin' boring, and I totally called it halfway through. Yeah. And in the last act, I think that's what kind of made it feel like it was dragging in too long, because I was like, this guy just isn't interesting. He should be like.
He was like the good guy kind of working with Gemma.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I didn't clock it, but I should have. You said you clocked it. But after the reveal, there was no super villainous turn. Like you didn't see him, because he was portrayed to be like a dude that was just trying to make the world a better place, and you know, and
working through legislation,
right, like with AI and things like that. And like he was working, like he was really friendly with his coworkers and stuff like that. And then when he's revealed to be the villain, usually there's a turn where they show that they're actually big assholes and stuff like that. But there was never that turn. He was still like
just kept
the friendly dude. Yeah, it was still the same keel, same plateau.
Almost deadpan delivery of almost every line.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, where's the cadence? Where's the rhythm? Where's the emphasis? Like
for all the bad shit that he caused, he didn't seem like the guy that would have done that. You know what I mean?
And at the end of the movie, he ends up seeming like a villain from like Bond or like National Treasure. Where he's like, I've collected all these things that could end in the destruction of humanity, and I've got the one thing that can actually, you know, like it seemed very like I get what they're going for, but yeah, I just thought that his decisions, I was like, I wanted a little more oomph.
Yeah, for anyone that's curious, that wants to know what I meant by the Mission Impossible comparison, so the AI entity was the big villain of the last two Mission Impossible things, and the MacGuffin that Amelia is going for is Xerox, essentially. The Xerox analog in this universe was called Xenox, and it was like considered one of the first big tech companies. And
well, they invented the very first like fax machine that
Mhm.
started to gather information
Right.
in 1984, and I was like, is that a Terminator
reference. Yeah. But shit, what was the point I was even making?
Oh, just that they have the microchip. They end up developing the microchip that can like totally shut everything down. Like in the
No.
newer-
It's so
right?
so yeah. No, they invented a very early version of AI, and so but they locked it away, and because they just kind of didn't know what to do with it. I can't remember the exact explanation.
It was too smart.
Yeah, it was
you
too
know?
smart, so they locked it away. And so the point that Megan makes is like, look at how much I was able to assimilate and grow in the 2 years that I've been in existence.
Yeah.
That thing's been around since 1984 in isolation. Who knows what it can do now?
Yeah.
And so like that's sort of the big AI entity that Amelia's trying to free. By the end of the movie, and essentially Megan has to just spoiling the ending. Megan has to sacrifice herself in order to stop Amelia.
Yeah.
Using a EMP device that she knows Gemma has put in her arm, and she just selflessly sacrifices herself, and everyone thinks that that's it. They're gonna have to move on, and again. We see now that that Gemma is working towards legislation about AI and stuff, but we see at the very, very end that Megan, of course, has survived, and now she's a little clippy avatar on Gemma's computer, saying she's like, "Do you really think I would sacrifice myself without making a backup?" And then it's like, "So what should we do now?" And then that's how the movie ends, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude, give me more Megan." Where she's good and they're working with like more Gemma, more Katie. I was about it, dude. I really love the ending.
Yeah, and I think I'm like by the end of the movie, I'm like, oh, they could keep if these movies do well, they could move this young actress to where she could like take over the franchise, and like they could just keep on making these movies if they do them the right way. And I think like the formula that they have here is like, okay, like if you can keep people entertained with this kind of more. Now it's almost reaching like that espionage kind of level.
It really is. I mean,
the car chase, that whole action
the car chase
scene
was amazing.
Like I didn't want to say anything, but I was like, I can't say car chase, but the friggin' Knight Rider needle drop
that
right
was
before,
so great.
And the way the car moves,
was so great.
And then Megan's personality mixing with the characters during the action scene, they're doing all these like moving parts really, really well. And you're like, man, after seeing the first movie for the first time today, I did not expect to see like an awesome car chase.
Yeah,
like an actual action movie.
Yeah, they really evolved the film in a really cool way. Like, yes, it's silly. Yes, it's over the top. I mean, it's just they Fast and Furious it, but they did it in the best way. Like,
it all fits.
Yeah.
Nothing about it doesn't make sense compared to what you know from the first movie. It's a totally different tone and all that kind of stuff. Totally different feel. But everything makes sense. The story is like interwoven perfectly. And like you even see the counselor from the first movie has a nice little cameo at the beginning. So it's like they've really made sure to like keep this world together.
It's cohesive. Yeah. So I mean, guys, if you like the first one, especially, even if you were lukewarm on the first one, if you know what you're going into with this one, you're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a blast. So I had a really great time. So there you go. I think that's gonna do it for our full thoughts on M3GAN 2.0. I'm here for M3GAN 3.0. You know, for sure. I'll be there. So maybe they should go. It should be 33.3 like, because we're basically in Naked Gun territory at this point. So 33 and a third would be like Megan 33.3 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Repeating.
Yeah, with the line over it. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm aboard. I hope if you guys have watched this far, that means you've enjoyed it as much as we did, and you just wanted to see the spoiler thoughts. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate that as well. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And I'm Davey Deathray.
And remember,
stay scared.